Welcome back to Slumber Party, everybody. What are we excited about today, Bridget?
Q&A.
Yes, I'm also excited because we ordered a pizza.
Oh, yes.
So we'll be having a pizza in the middle of this episode.
Yeah, I can't wait because it's the same one we got during our moment.
And it's so good. And it's a quote unquote skinny crust. So it's like lower carbs. So I feel super excited about that.
Yeah.
So thank you all for the questions. We got questions from our Patreon, Discord, and we got questions from social media. And the first question I have, and I'm curious what your answer is, Bridget, because I don't know. Somebody asked, did your boyfriends watch you on Girls Next Door before they met you? And I'm going to say, I hope the not. Not because there's any secrets or anything. Like, he's very, like, aware of my past and stuff. But it's just like that cringe feeling. And I'm not even picking on Girls Next Door when I say that. It's just like, we cringe when we look back on ourselves in high school. Like, if you had video of yourself in like junior high and maybe it wasn't cut the way you love, it wouldn't be your favorite thing for people to watch. And also, I feel like if I somehow found out that he used to watch that show, I feel like that would be so weird because that's just not the kind of thing he's into at all. So I'm going to say, I hope the fuck not.
I don't think Nick was an active watcher of the show. I think he definitely knew of it, and he might have like caught a glimpse of something here and there if it just like happened to appear on TV or he was flipping channels. But I don't think he's watched it. I think when I watch an episode for this show, it's all new to him.
Yeah,
and he like makes fun of me.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm moving my chair
no
if you're wanting the noise.
The next question was, somebody asked what the most difficult Playboy murder story to talk about in a Playboy murder show. I'm going to say the first one we covered, which was Jasmine Fior, because that was one of the most recent ones. It was somebody I just barely missed meeting. She came along like right after we left. Our friend Stacy knew her, and her murder was done in a really, really brutal way, which I don't ever get into detail on when I'm like talking about it apart from the show or doing press, just because I want to be respectful. And it's just harder to talk about, I think, a more recent murder because there's real people out there who lost a loved one. So
Next question is, when's your next live moment?
Ooh, I don't know, Bridget, when are we doing it?
I don't know.
We haven't like set up a date or anything, but we really enjoyed the first one. If I had to like brainstorm right now on when we should do it, I would say maybe like September, just because I feel like people are kind of checked out in the summer.
Oh, that could be. That's a bummer though, because I really want to do the auction book thing, and I can't wait till September to look through the auction books.
Yeah, so let us know if we should do one sooner. We didn't want to like bombard you guys and do one like super soon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We never like to do that. Like, even when we first came out with merch, we're like, let's pace the moment away from the merch because we love how involved you guys are and we love putting out content, but we don't ever want to make you feel like bombarded or like you have to choose one or the other or like it's too much at once. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Like, we respect your time and how you choose to spend your money and all that, so we pace ourselves.
Next question is, who had what rooms when you guys moved in? Also, did Bridget have a different room before her main one? No, I was always in room 3.
Yeah, you were always in room 3. I moved around a little bit within my first few months. I started staying in room 3 when there were 3 beds in that room. I shared it with one of the other girlfriends. And I would say within like a week or so, I moved into bedroom 5 because another girlfriend moved out. And I remember feeling so lucky to get that room because there were not enough rooms for all the girlfriends. Like, he had 7 girlfriends and not enough rooms. So usually there were like people doubled up in bedroom 3 or out in the guest house. So because I was the newest and got my own room, I felt really lucky. And then of course I moved into the main bedroom a few months after that.
I was always in bedroom 3, but it wasn't always just my own bedroom. Like, I had to share it with people for a while, and some of the people were fun to share it with. Like, Stacy and I got really close because we shared a room. Crystal and I were really close because we shared a room. But then I also got stuck with just like randoms that came out with us, and so that kind of sucked.
That's a little unsettling because you don't know these people.
Yeah, but then at some point it became just my room.
Yeah. Okay, this next question I'm kind of excited about talking about. I don't know why. It's just so random. And I think the reason this has come up in the questions is because somebody was doing an Instagram story about it and saying it was like shady which I didn't really know about, but people are asking, you guys have to explain the bench warmer cards. I'm so confused. Bridget, what is a bench warmer card?
They are like baseball cards, but instead of being baseball players, they are girls, like models.
Collector cards. So there would be cards with just a girl's picture and like some stats about her on the back. And sometimes they would do ones where they would like cut off a piece of the costume in the picture and
Or
put it inside the card.
There were kiss cards.
God, the kiss cards make me gag.
Annoying.
So anyway, the thing about these cards is there's this company called Benchwarmer, and the guy Brian who ran it would get like all these models to pose, and you got paid a little bit of money. I don't remember what, but I felt like the value in doing it was more to get the pictures in the photo shoot. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, for sure.
Because back then, before everybody had a front-facing camera and a ring light stand and a remote for their phone, like getting a photographer to take good pictures of you, you know, it cost money, and somebody had to do that as a favor. So I always kind of wanted to do the benchwarmer cards because I like Dan Peterson's photos, the guy who took the pictures. Interestingly enough, Dan Peterson was one of the original Chippendales. Did you know that?
No.
He's in the documentary, yeah. But I loved his pictures. I like how he retouched them. I thought they were cute. So that was kind of why I would always go do the benchwarmer shoots. And sometimes he would do like buddy cards. Like it would be all me, you, and Kendra on one, or me and you, or, you know, stuff like that. And they would have themed ones for like the holidays and stuff. But then...
Wait, but we did them way into Girls Next Door and stuff too.
Yeah, we started doing them before Girls Next Door when we were at the mansion, and kept doing them kind of throughout the years, but there was a point where I stopped.
Yeah.
Because the thing about it is, to get paid for it, you had to sign a lot of the cards. And then there were, like you said,
like 500 cards.
Yeah. There would be like boxes of these cards. And then there were kiss cards, like you said, and they would want you to put on like this bright red lipstick and leave your lip print on these cards. And you would have to do so many. Like I remember bringing mine into your room on like a Fun in the Sun where it was raining out, and instead of scrapbooking, we would sign our benchwarmer cards. And holy shit, was it tedious, because there were so many.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where when we were deeper into Girls Next Door, I stopped doing it because I'm like, just don't have fucking time to sign all these things. But I always thought it was kind of like just a fun, cute thing. I didn't really think much of it. Yes, the signing and stuff was tedious.
Well, I loved it because we got to go. They offered professional hair and makeup.
Mm-hmm.
That, like you said, a professional photographer. We brought in our own wardrobe, but I think they had stuff you could pick from and props and stuff like that. So it was a really fun experience, and you always ended up knowing a lot of the girls that were there on the same day that were shooting, or if not, you met people. And then there would be fun parties to promote the cards too, and they were always like themed. Like, this is the holiday one.
Yeah.
These are sporty ones. These are bikini ones. These are whatever. So you got to be creative with it and have fun.
So that was my experience. I always thought it was positive. I just stopped doing it after a while because they wanted you to sign way too many cards and didn't have time. But I think the reason people are asking is because, like, Crystal said in her Instagram story, like, the benchwarmer guy reached out and she said something like, "Hi, I hope you've moved on to better things. You take advantage of women," or something like that. I'm probably misquoting. And I'm like, what happened in the benchwarmer world after we left?
I don't know.
I'm so curious.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I don't know the drama. Maybe somebody will hit us up in the comments and tell us the story, if there's a story.
It was a neither here nor there thing, although I did just get somebody tagged me in an Instagram photo where they did a card of my feet,
But you've never seen that card, so they must have like put it out after you were involved with benchwarming.
Yeah, I feel like they still are using our stuff, maybe, or not maybe not now, but were like long after we left, like doing things like that with the photos.
Yeah, it's so weird.
But I don't know.
So back to Trashy Slug, love that name, asks, I know there was a 9 p.m. curfew, but was there a certain time you couldn't leave the mansion before? What would stop someone from leaving at midnight and coming back at like 9-10 a.m.? It was just understood that you weren't supposed to be out at night, and that was the whole point of the curfew.
Yeah.
Like, I think if any of us were leaving the house while it was still dark, it was because we were up at 5 a.m. because we had to make a day trip and be in and out or something.
Catch a flight somewhere.
Yeah, like there was never a specific rule like, well, you after you're in at 9 o'clock, you can't leave again till this time. But we all understood that the reason why there was a curfew was because they didn't want us out at night. So there was no getting around it. Like, you would have gotten in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a favorite and least favorite, Bridget. Pressure's on. So I'll go first so you can think about it. Somebody asked favorite and least favorite mansion costumes. I think mine is probably a tie. I'm sure I'm forgetting something somewhere. Mine's probably a tie between the peacock outfit and my Marie Antoinette outfit. And as far as least favorite, one doesn't really stand out because there were probably like a handful of flops along the way. Like I know in the early days, I always felt, a little disappointed that I couldn't afford like stuff from Barachi because I always wanted to look like the Bentley twins in their Barachi outfits. So sometimes I would try to make stuff and put rhinestones on it, and it turned out maybe okay or maybe not. So I don't think there's like one specific thing that's a least favorite. I probably have like a handful of flops in the early years.
I have a least favorite.
What's that?
I don't like my Medusa costume.
Because of the snakes?
The snakes did not turn out anywhere near what I wanted. It's not what I wanted at all, but I didn't get it till the day of, and so I didn't have a choice in it. And I just feel like I was having an off day that day anyway. Like I don't like the whole look. I don't like. So I think that's my least favorite.
One thing I like about that day is all three of us wore green that Halloween, but we didn't coordinate.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really cute because we were all coordinated in green, but our costumes were so specific to our personalities. Like Kendra was like 70s funky, and you were like Medusa scary, and I was Disney princess Tinkerbell.
Wait, that wasn't the year that Kendra was Army?
No, Army was when you were Corpse Bride and I was Cinderella.
Oh.
There was that green year where we were all three green.
Yeah.
But none of us planned it. It just happened.
For some reason, I was thinking her green was the Army, but that was a different year.
Yeah.
My favorite one from the... I don't know. Maybe...
Little Red Riding Hood with the wolf head.
I do love that one, but there's too many favorites. Like I can't pick just one. Like I'll say Corpse Bride was my favorite costume because the whole overall thing.
I like Lily Munster though too.
Did you?
That was really cute. You don't like that one?
I just felt so ugly at that party.
What?
Yeah.
That's weird. I guess we all have our off days and we don't know, but I thought you looked great.
I do love the Lily Munster costume, and I got to wear the original necklace.
That's so cool.
But yeah, there was a lot of favorites. I have a lot of favorites, so I can't pick just one. But there's definitely some misses in there.
Yeah, it's hard to pick. Next question. As Hef's assistant, did Mary have to be on call 24/7? No, she just went back home to her house in the valley, and Hef had like an emergency button by his bed that was like, if I'm ever dying, push this, which was kind of ominous and creepy. But there was always staff at the house. So if you needed something in an emergency, like security, or like you could call down to the butlers or something like that. So she wasn't on call 24/7. She just had her regular hours that she was there during the day.
Yeah. When you went out to eat with Hef, would they give him the bill directly or have other people pay it?
Other people would pay it. The bill would be given to security and they would pay it. I don't think Hef like ever touched his credit cards or anything like that, because there's one episode where we're traveling and he's talking about how he's never touched his passport. Like somebody else always had his passport. Isn't that weird?
Well, I think it's interesting to note too, just to explain how this all worked. When we went out to dinner, we would have like probably at least 2, if not 3 or 4 security with us. That 2 of them would be riding in the limo with us, and 2 would be in a trail car. We always had a trail car following in case anyone needed to go home or Hef had an emergency or anything. There was always a trail car. So there would be 2 to 4 security, and they would have their own table at whatever restaurant we went to, and they would have dinner with us but separate from us. And when Hef was ready for the bill, he would give this little sign, and usually Mark, but whoever was security there, would call for the bill and would sign the bill and do the whole check thing at the end.
Making it easy. How did the show decide which room to do each girl's confessional interviews in? Well, you have a whole saga with that. I think in the first couple of episodes, they were really playing around with it and didn't know what they were doing. Like I think one of my first interviews, I was interviewed in the game house, which they didn't ever use again.
Well, I think you were the original one it was hard for because they wanted each of our bedrooms.
Yeah, but obviously they can't film in Hef's room. So they started in the game house, and the executive producer, Kevin, was very picky about the interview backgrounds. Like even into the spin-off days, like producers were terrified to get the, like he would get so specific. He'd have to see it as it was happening. The interview backgrounds had to be on point. And eventually I was settled into the living room or the library because it's just very classic, old school, goes with my vibe. And you started in your bedroom.
I started in my bedroom. We did that for, I felt like a while, but maybe it wasn't as long as I thought because I'm already seeing where we're at on Girls Next Door, which is still first season. I'm already seeing it getting moved around.
Mm-hmm.
But it started in my bedroom, which all was fine and dandy, except for they have to come in like 3 hours beforehand and they take over the whole room. The whole room. And there's like 10 people in there and they're setting up cameras and lighting and they're rearranging all my stuff in my room to get the backdrop exactly how Kevin wants it. And then once you do the interview, then you do the interview for hours. And then when it's over, it takes them forever to clean all that stuff up. So it was literally all day long in my room, and I couldn't get anything else done.
And it got fucking hot in there, right?
And it would get so hot. And so I finally told them, look, we can't keep doing this in my room.
But before that, Halloween probably.
Oh, is that what pissed him off?
Well, I don't know pissed him off, but I was going to talk about it when we get to the Ghost Busted episode too, because I think the whole reason we even have a Halloween episode in season 1, I mean, Kevin loved Halloween, of course, but I think it was inspired by your bedroom because every year you would decorate your bedroom for Halloween. And Kevin was like, no, we need to do interviews in there. And you're like, no, I'm decorating for Halloween.
Decorating.
And I think a Halloween episode was kind of inspired by like, well, let's at least get like an interview or 2 in your room and we'll just sock that in the Halloween episode. So I would imagine that's probably when they first took you out of your room. And like in the Under the Covers episode, we see you outside once.
Mm-hmm.
But then where do you settle after that? Is it behind the guest house?
I don't think we ever settled. So sometimes we're behind the guest house, sometimes we're outside, sometimes we did it in the
behind the game house, sorry.
Yeah, the game house.
Yeah.
I was thinking too. Behind the game house. Sometimes we would do it in the guest house.
Yeah.
It just kind of moved all over. Sometimes we were back in my room. I feel like it just kind of moved wherever they could find the space. It was always a problem.
Yeah. And Kendra started in her room, but they eventually moved her out to the game house. And I think where we ended up really goes with our characters. Like they always tried to put you somewhere pink and girly. I was supposed to be somewhere like old school and classic. And Kendra was supposed to be somewhere young and playful, like with all the pinball machines behind her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I do like what they did with the interviews.
Yeah, me too. And I honestly, at first, really loved having everybody in my room and like
Yeah.
doing it in my room. But then it just was like
Just got
so
tedious.
much. Like you're so tired after. And they would leave my door open. And I had my cat in there
Yeah.
and my dog in there and stuff. Oh, I don't know if this is a question on the Q&A, but can I answer a question that I keep getting all the time?
Yeah, go for it.
Because it kind of pissed me off a little bit. Somebody was asking if the dogs got run of the mansion or if they were locked in the rooms all day, and also my cat.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody said, it just breaks my heart to think those dogs were locked up in your rooms all day.
Well, what do people do when they have an apartment?
Well,
That room was bigger than like some 1-bedroom apartments.
I went to answer that person to tell them that room was bigger than my apartment.
Yeah.
So, like, you would have been totally fine if I left my dog at my apartment while I went out, but you're not okay with leaving him in my room. First of all, the dogs had pretty much free run.
Yeah.
Like, they were in our rooms a lot of the time,
Mhm.
but they were also, like, when we all went out and stuff, they would be downstairs with the
Yeah.
butlers and all in, like, this pack. Like, our dogs created a pack.
Yeah. And you guys, I swear I tried to create like a kennel club behind the behind the game house during the days. So the dogs would have like cute outdoor space and all be in one spot and wouldn't make a mess. It didn't work. The dogs kept getting out.
And Winnie's not, like, a big dog that needs to go running around everywhere. She's not, like, that
Probably takes her all
active.
day to cross the room with her little legs.
And Gizmo, for sure, I kept her in my room, and I didn't take her out. I mean, I took her out occasionally to go do stuff, like bring her down to the
Yeah.
dining room or whatever, but for the most part, she stayed in her room, and that's the way she would have wanted it. Like,
Yeah.
she was anti. So I tried to respond to that person, and of course, they don't allow being responded to.
Oh God.
And I was like, of course.
Yeah.
Of course you are that person.
I don't like that.
You know.
Were there any scrapped plot lines for episodes? Either the network or Hef found them too inappropriate or risque to be filmed? That's an interesting question, and one that we will address as we go. through episodes because I probably can't even remember off the top of my head. We'll probably be deep into season 3 one day and I'll be like, oh, remember we were supposed to do this and then we couldn't. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head, and we talked about this in the pilot, is when we did the sex toy Tupperware party. E was like, we absolutely can't air that. And nobody was doing anything inappropriate with the sex toys at all. They just couldn't even show the sex toys on TV.
Yeah. Well, and you guys, we have talked about how, we've got with the reviews that came in. We've talked about the e-message boards. We had religious groups after us. We had the Florida Family Association after us. We had advertisers threatening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had like a lot of shit going down on us at the start.
Yeah, and I don't think we were ever trying to do anything risque on camera. Like, we always thought, some nudity here and there was funny or whatever, but we weren't trying to like show sex life or anything like that. We were just trying to do our usual activities. Here's another superlative for you, Bridget. Wildest trip during the mansion days. Our answers might be different because I wasn't really allowed to stick around for a lot of the stuff. Like, I couldn't stay for Kendra's 21st birthday. I had to leave early.
Oh, that was wild.
Yeah, when I think of wild trips at the mansion, I always come back to this one, Anastasia's 21st birthday, which was in season 5, because I just felt like that was such a fun getaway with just the girls.
Yeah.
And we were all wasted and it was vaguely unsupervised.
Yeah.
I also felt like, I don't know if this was the wildest, but I also felt like it was kind of fun when we got to do that trip for the 55th anniversary search and we went to like Dallas and New York. I just felt like we could drink and like text people and just be normal 20-somethings a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if those are like wild by anyone else's standards. I think just by mine.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Kendra's 21st birthday was wild because we ended up at a strip club, a female strip club. And that was wild. That was for sure wild. Also, one of the wildest things I think is probably Stacy's bachelorette party.
Oh,
and
yeah, I
wedding.
forgot about that.
Yeah, that was like...
That got crazy.
Yeah, I was like, I hope we make it through this.
What year at the mansion was the most enjoyable / least enjoyable for you?
Well...
I mean, least enjoyable for me, I would have to say like either 2002 or 2003.
I was going to say 2002, 2003.
Because I moved in late 2001 and that was all like the adjustment period, like a lot of crazy shit happening, but a lot of like novelty cool shit that I'd never seen before in my life too. But then it just kind of got into a rut with like nothing new and exciting happening, the Mean Girls drama, a lot of other things I don't like. So my worst year would probably be like 2002 or 2003. Best year was probably just like the last year I was there because I kept getting more and more confident over the time.
Yeah, my worst year is for sure 2003. Best year was probably 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Because we're getting paid for the show. We're getting paid for appearances. We're traveling the world. We're going to all kinds of crazy events. Like, we're becoming famous in our own right and knowing it finally.
Yeah.
Like, it was exciting and a lot going on. I mean, talk about a lot going on.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember the FBI needed to talk to me about a party that we did, and it was such a busy year that I didn't even know which party they were referring to. I was like, do you know what outfit I was wearing?
Like a Playboy party or like a party you hosted at a club?
A Playboy party.
The FBI?
I got called
it?
down and sent to an interrogation room.
What happened? Like, why were they asking you questions?
Somebody threw a party and paid us to come outside to it.
Oh, so it was like a rental party in the backyard at the mansion?
Yes, but we went out to it because we were paid to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And that person was being investigated and they wanted to know how we were paid, like how much we were paid, who gave us the check, what our agreement was, like all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't remember this party at all. I'm sorry, there was a lot of parties at this time.
So were you called back by the FBI after you left the mansion?
This
or
was
it
years
during?
later.
Whoa!
Years later.
Oh my god! I would never remember because I'm trying to remember when were we ever paid to go out and do a backyard party?
That's what I said. I said, we weren't usually paid to go out to the backyard for a party. And they're like, oh, well, then you should remember this one. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't. Do you know what I was wearing? That's what I asked them.
Yeah, I don't ever remember being paid to be it. I mean, granted, things were so busy for us toward the end that it's possible we could have been paid and I just forgot about it, but.
I can give you more details after this. I just don't know how much I should go into here.
Oh, okay.
But it freaked me out. The FBI calling me, like they called Nick too.
Oh my god.
And Nick was like on his way home from Vegas, like with friends or something, and the FBI is calling him.
Yeah, that's scary.
Like I was just like, how do they have my number? Like
Oh
I
my
guess they can get
gosh.
whatever they want. But I was
Yeah.
at lunch with Lorene, and I felt like there was these two guys sitting like at a table kind of catty corner for us, and I thought
You're like,
it was
who
the
the fuck are you?
FBI. Like there was a helicopter like overhead
Oh
when
my
I was driving
God.
home, and I was like, the FBI is following me. You guys, I literally lost my shit. Like
oh my
I
god,
freaked
I would
out.
too. During the filming of Girls Next Door, you were prevented from having input on the creative direction or how you were portrayed. Do you think this played a role in maintaining creative control of the podcast? Abso-fucking-lutely.
It's everything.
And not just the way we didn't have control over Girls Next Door, but just the way you don't have control about the way you're represented in media. Sometimes when you do interviews, people will take a quote and like use it as the headline in a misleading way. You know, so I've been burned a lot that way too. And yeah, I mean, I would never do a project like this and not maintain control over it. No fuck, like the whole point of this podcast is we're finally getting to like speak our truth without anybody else weighing in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got stressed out answering that for some reason. I'm like, ugh. Will you ever have any of the producers on to discuss your theories on how the show was cut and character development? I would absolutely love to. I have friends who are producers on the show that have offered to come on, although the specific person I'm thinking of didn't come on, I think, till season 3. So I don't know how relevant it would be to have her on until we get there.
That's what I was just gonna say. Like we have people that have volunteered to come on the show, but they're kind of later on down the line, and right now we're staying very chronological.
Yeah.
So we would need somebody to offer up from that was there in season 1.
Didn't somebody chime in on the moment and say, hey, I worked on the show?
Season 2, though, I think they came in.
Oh, okay, so they're coming
But I'm
up
not-
close.
I'm not positive on that. We could double check, but I haven't had anybody come forward about season 1 yet, which I would love to because that's the most critical one, I feel like.
Yeah, that's when they were really trying to set us up for how people were going to perceive us. And I think it would be a fascinating interview with any producer because obviously they're going to have like their whole timeline and their whole side of things and what they heard Kevin say and all that stuff. But I wonder how limited we would be as far as finding real answers because Kevin was such a control freak and so like he didn't really let anybody else at his company do creative. Like the creative was all him and everybody else was just kind of responding to his orders from what I understand.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much another producer would know about, oh, well, he really wanted Kendra to look this way because of this, or he really wanted Bridget to look this way. Like they might know if he said something about it.
I feel like he said stuff about it, and there were definite story people that were doing storyboards and stuff like that, and I'm sure these people know stuff.
Yeah, they must.
And editors, these editors were told how to cut things and everything, or what he's looking for. So there's people that know the answers to these questions.
You know what he used to say to one of my friends who was a producer is, they're like my little puppets. I can make them do whatever I want.
Ew.
I know, so disgusting. And this was later on down the line too. Like I think this was during the Holly's World era. He said that, but he was still talking about all three of us collectively. Because I think even after Girls Next Door, he kind of felt like he had like this kind of proprietary thing over all of us.
He did.
Yeah, it was weird.
How did producers decide which playmates were regulars on the show? Well, they didn't really decide.
Yeah, it was kind of who was there. I think they probably encouraged certain people that they thought were good for others to bounce off of. Like I know Kendra kind of always had like one sidekick at a time. Like first it was Destiny, then it was Monica, then it was Brittany Binger. And I know Kevin did like Brittany Binger for certain reasons and would like encourage that. But it was kind of like who we wanted to hang out with.
Yeah, I feel like it was more our decision and also just who was there. Like girls came and went all the time.
Yeah, and I think sometimes like if Kevin liked somebody's personality, he might encourage that person around. I mean, there was that whole time in season 5 where he wanted us to like bring in new people because he thought they were going to get rid of Kendra or something, and there were like 4 or 5 other girls hanging around.
And you know what's so weird about it too? There were playmates that we loved, like loved so much. Their personalities were so fun, and we just thought they were the funnest people to hang out with. And Kevin wouldn't like them, and he said they didn't pop on TV. So it's so weird what personalities pop on camera and which ones don't.
Yeah, you never know. Like somebody could be the most hilarious person in real life, but then they kind of get a little quiet and don't really come across on camera. You never know what you're going to get. You know who always like connected so well was Sarah Underwood from day one.
Yeah.
And not just on Girls Next Door. You can see it with like any social media following she's ever had. It's just she really connects with people.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys get paid for your covers and pictorials? We did, and we got paid the same amount as a Playmate of the Month would get, which I didn't feel particularly weird about at the time, although you could argue that a quote-unquote celebrity pictorial is usually paid more.
Yeah, but we were just so excited to get to pose that we were like, okay.
Yeah, and they would pay like $25,000 for a centerfold pictorial, so that was what we got paid. But the cover shoot, for some reason, was always $750, so we would get paid the $25,000 minus $750 for the pictorial, and then $750 for the cover. Random. But interestingly enough, like have had a couple girlfriends who were celebrity pictorials before us, and they got paid $100,000 each. And
really?
Yeah, and they weren't even on a TV show. They were just known as Hef's girlfriends, and they got $100,000 each.
We needed an agent working for us.
I know.
This one's from Crazy Dreamer. Did you get paid for giving tours at the mansion? Did Holly get paid for working at the studio? And did Bridget get paid for her radio show?
We didn't get paid for giving tours at the mansion, and I didn't feel like I needed to. Mm-hmm. I was happy to do it.
Me too.
I felt like it gave me purpose, and it was fun.
I loved doing the tours, and yeah, there wasn't a dime out of it. And nobody at the mansion's allowed to take tips either, just FYI.
Yeah, and it's not something I look back on and I'm like bitter about not getting paid at all. Like I was happy to do it.
I got a bunny costume out of it, so I felt like I scored big time.
Yeah, totally. I did get paid for working at the studio. It was very, very minimal. It's not what a salary for that type of job would be. But again, I didn't care. I was happy to do it. And I spent that salary almost all on like clothes and accessories and shoes for the Playmate shoots to keep the Playmate shoots on budget, because I slashed the budget so hard. And sometimes I would keep the stuff because I bought it. Like if it fit me, I'd keep it. Not like lingerie or anything, but like shoes. Yeah. But it was a really, really, really low salary.
Yeah. For the radio show, I got paid also very, very low. I think it was $200. So
yeah,
I wasn't bringing home the bacon, that's for sure.
Yeah. I've seen there was Playboy makeup. Did you ever use the Playboy makeup line? I did, and I loved it. And they gave me a bunch of free samples to use on the show. I had a whole like display set up.
Wait, are they talking about the MAC makeup line?
There was a MAC Playboy special edition like blush and lipstick, but Playboy had its own makeup line too. Oh. Remember like the lipstick tubes with like the bunny on top and stuff? I had a whole display on my vanity. And they were kind enough to give that to me, which was great. And you saw it on the show quite a bit. But there was one particular lip color I really loved and was almost out of. And this was like right before I moved out. I asked my assistant at the time to ask them for more of that makeup color. And they freaked out on her and said, we gave her $250,000 worth of makeup and she doesn't even plug it on the show. Which, first of all, you saw the makeup display on the show quite a bit. 2, there was no agreement for me to display it on the show. Like that would have had to been something I disclosed and reported for taxes and reported to Kevin and all the things. There was no agreement, like not even like a verbal agreement that not even implied that I was aware of. It was just, and $250,000 worth of makeup, I don't even think that's possible.
I was gonna say
there's no way. So that was a really weird glitch.
Like that would be stalking a Sephora or something.
Yeah, Unless there's something I don't know, like maybe somebody arranged for me to get the makeup and like stole crates of makeup off the box and said that they gave it to me. I don't know. I don't think so. But it's just a really weird thing. I'm like, you didn't give me $250,000 worth of makeup.
Maybe $250. That's
Yeah,
what I thought you were gonna say.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I was grateful for it. I thought the makeup was great. I really loved it. I loved using it. I thought it looked cute on my vanity, all the things. But that was just weird.
I remember having a few of the lip glosses with the bunny heads. I don't think I had the whole display. I don't remember using any of the other stuff, but I do remember the MAC collaboration, and it was I probably have them unused too because they were just so cute. I didn't want to touch them, but there was a MAC powder, like a blush, and it had the bunny like embossed in it.
Yeah.
And then there was the lipstick, and the bunny was on it too.
Yeah, the bunny was like imprinted on the actual product.
And the colors were cute. Like I liked
like
the
a
colors.
frosty pink.
Mm-hmm.
It was very MAC purr, very early 2000s.
I loved it, and I feel like I had a couple of them, like ones I didn't use and ones I did use. So probably when I go home and look through my stuff, I don't know that I'll find that box, but they probably are in there somewhere. Probably all rotted out and gross.
Yeah. Did you ever become friends with the crew on Girls Next Door, Holly's World, or Bridget's Beaches? Did it ever make things awkward, and are you? Did it ever make things awkward, and are you still friends now?
I definitely did. I definitely did with Girls Next Door crew. Like I think I've mentioned before that when they would go away for like a season and we didn't know if they were coming back, like I would feel like a definite loss when they would pull that trailer off the property. I'd be like, ugh,
yeah,
I just lost my friends. It felt like family. In fact, when I went off to do Bridget's Sexiest Beaches, I requested people to work on the show that were from Girls Next Door that I specifically wanted to come on the show with me. And some I got my way and some I didn't. And I was also like very, very friendly with them to the point where one of the producers that was on my Beaches show, this person, was anti me being friendly with anybody. And she was such a bitch.
Why would you not want a friendly work environment?
She did not want it at all. And one of the camera guys asked, we were in Hawaii, and he said, would it bother you if my wife and kid met us here? Because we've been on the road for a long time and we weren't home for very long. And I was like, no, I would love it. I think that would be amazing. Well, this producer person flipped her shit.
Oh my God.
And then, so it was stuff like that. And it was just got to really, we'll talk more about that when we get to that point, but there was a very negative environment going on.
That's so sad because nothing is better than a positive environment when you're shooting a show and everybody's excited and everybody's happy. I would say the first couple seasons of Girls Next Door, there was such a heavy turnover of producers. You didn't really have a chance to get to know anybody that well. But definitely as the seasons went on, I made friends on the crew, and there were certain people I requested for Holly's World and was very enthusiastic about having. And there's people that I'm still really close friends with to this day who worked on Girls Next Door and Holly's World. And it's just, I mean, I just think back on it and it makes me so happy. And like as the years went by, it was always like I got to know people better and we're closer, and it was so much fun. And especially on Holly's World, because nobody was from Vegas, so it kind of felt like a vacation to everybody, and it was just so much fun.
Yeah. The Beaches show should have been so much fun. There was 9 of us that all traveled together. It's a small pack. Like, why can't we all be friendly and get along?
Yeah.
And all of us could, except for like 1 or 2 people. They had to ruin it for everyone.
Bad apples.
Mm-hmm.
I need a pen. I keep losing, right?
I keep losing too. Jamie asks, when watching the episode and recording commentary, did any drama happen while doing so? I can imagine with things actually said or edited to look certain ways, there might have been some weird feelings going on.
Absolutely. Overall, I really enjoyed doing commentary. We would sit in a sound booth all day and watch the entire season. Our voices would be gone by the end of the day. We'd order pizza, kind of like today. Today has that vibe because we're recording a lot and we're ordering pizza. So, it was really fun. I felt like it was a chance for me to have a little bit of a say. Obviously not going to say anything that throws anybody under the bus or gets me in trouble. But yeah, there were feelings. Like we talked about how episode 5, Fight Night, in the commentary, I'm like really harsh on Barbie, which I should never have been. I was just kind of taking out my anger on that situation. And I'm sure as we move forward watching the show and watching the show with commentary, we'll always keep you guys informed when we remember things from the commentary sessions. Overall, I remember it being a really great experience and having fun doing the commentary. The only real drama I remember was when we did the commentary for season 5, because we had all already moved out. Obviously, we've like moved on all to different men, new men in our lives. And, you know, there were things in the edits I was seeing that I didn't like, and I wasn't reacting to the edits the way Kevin wanted me to. And that made him really angry. Kendra was saying things that weren't mean. They were just like lighthearted, funny stories she was telling. But Kevin would like stop and be like, no, you can't say that because it makes Half look bad. So I the most drama I remember was like the very last season.
Yeah, for me, I remember commentary being really fun. I know you and I both really enjoyed it. I think Kendra did not enjoy it. She hated sitting there and rewatching everything and feeling like she needed to comment on stuff. She was pretty quiet in most commentary.
Mhm.
I feel like for the most part though, we all got along really well in it. And
Yeah,
we
I
were
think
all
we all
very
had fun, the three of us together. And I think the three of us were always like on the same team. And I
Yeah.
might be surprised moving down the road as we watch these episodes with commentary, because I haven't watched them with commentary since we did it. But I don't remember like us really getting snippy with each other.
There's
too
a
much.
few points I feel like, but I definitely watch the commentary after each episode and I write them in my notes, like things that we said in commentary and any like weirdness I sense in commentary or
Yeah.
remember when I'm watching it. So we definitely will on a case by case like bring those up. And I do remember there being some awkward moments, like definitely like kind of like that shower scene and stuff. Like
Uh-huh.
I want to be respectful to you guys and your thing and stuff, but I also want to say like my
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. So there was like awkward moments about like, okay, this is really embarrassing now after the fact that everything's fixed, but I still have
Yeah,
to comment on
yeah.
it. Like, you know, it's kind of like the podcast even. Like there's things that are all said and done when you watch the whole arc of the show. People see you a certain way, but when we're talking about this podcast, we're talking about it in the moment of each episode.
Yeah.
And I feel like people
Time capsule.
don't understand that we're not like trying to look forward and what
Yeah.
happens coming up. We're only taking it from how we felt at that moment, and I feel like that's kind of what commentary made us do too.
Totally.
Okay, so Apples and Bananas asks, what do you think has been your favorite opportunity that has come since doing the show? Like, is there something that stands out as something you wouldn't have been able to do if it hadn't been for the show?
I don't know if they mean like after the show or during the show, because I feel like there were so many things I did after the show that I couldn't have done without the fan base from the show.
Yeah.
Obviously, like it's all cause and effect and leads to each other. But when I'm thinking about like being on the show, opportunities that I wouldn't have been able to do without it, definitely working at the studio. That was a big one.
Yeah. I mean, there were so many opportunities and still opportunities because of the show.
Mhm.
I don't even know how to separate that. Like I can't separate it, I feel like. But one thing that stands out while I was there is like getting to do that O rehearsal thing.
Yeah, that was so cool.
with Cirque du Soleil. Was amazing. I mean, there's just so much,
Mhm.
so much stuff. I can't
Even being in the magazine, we were
Yeah.
not going to be doing that if it wasn't for the show.
Yeah, so there's the traveling that we did. I don't
Mhm.
think we would have done that extensive traveling if it wasn't for the show. Our spin-offs probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
or
for sure.
wouldn't have happened
Yeah.
without the show. So there's just so much.
How did you clear filming celebrities for the show? I think if they were having a celebrity come on, like a Shaun White or a Kelly Slater, obviously they would, have discussed that with their agents and signed a release. As far as celebrities at the parties, there was just signs everywhere at the mansion when you walked in the door saying, if you walk into this party, you consent to being filmed.
Even places we went, they put a sign up outside the door,
Mhm.
and people that came in just had to know they were being filmed, and if you had a problem with it, you didn't come in.
Yeah.
And that they would do that at restaurants that we were filming in. They would
Mhm.
do it at like all kinds of events and things that we went to. Like even parties. Like I know we talked about Benchwarmer earlier, but one of the fun things about Benchwarmer too is the parties.
Yeah. They always had them at Bliss, that nightclub.
Mhm.
Why can't you sue the network now for airing the show without paying you guys and airing selling nudity without consent? Well, it's not the network's fault. It was
Yeah.
Playboy. Playboy was the gatekeeper. They decided whether or not we got paid. I mean, I've even talked to executives that were there during Girls Next Door, and they were like, we had no idea how the sausage was made. We just liked the show.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, they had their own requests and what they wanted out of the show, but as far as how we were paid or anything, like that was all Playboy. And as far as not informing us how the nudity was going to be used, I feel like that should have been, I mean, if Playboy was gatekeeping us as far as like how we were going to get paid, that should have been their responsibility too.
Well, Playboy and Prometheus, which is the production company, but I think Prometheus was allowing Playboy to take over on that, and Playboy was like, or Hef was like, no.
Yeah.
Which episode would you delete from existence if you could?
Damn, I would have a long ass list.
Would you? Well, I'm not very far along, so I'm still in season 1.
Yeah.
So I would, out of these episodes so far, I would delete episode 2 right off the face of the planet.
Yeah, episode 2 was really unfair. I would definitely delete Chocolate Vagina.
Oh, see, I'm not even there yet. I forgot about Chocolate Vagina.
Yeah, Chocolate Vagina.
I was so uncomfortable with that whole thing. I know we're going to get into it.
Yeah, that's a whole fucking story. Just, yeah. And, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's tons of others I would love to delete from existence. I hate in season 2, Hef's and My Anniversary episode.
Oh.
I delete that one. I mean, there's probably a lot more I'm just not thinking of, but those are the 2 that really pop to mind.
Well, that's the one that pops to mind for me. I'll call them out as I find them, though.
Yeah.
Let's see. I just did a full rewatch of season 5, and the timeline seems weird. Was it staged?
Season 5 was definitely staged a lot of and manipulated a lot of it. And I can't even break it down for you right now because I haven't watched season 5 since we did the commentary for it way back in 08 or 09. I think it was 08. And I, like, when we get to it, I'm going to have to break out all my day planners. I'm going to have to break out all my pictures because it's going to be confusing to even us because they cut and pasted that thing so weirdly. It makes no sense. And it was not representative of what was actually going on at all.
Right. And even what's on the show, from what I remember, is totally different than what was happening in real life. And all this other stuff is happening in real life. And I even struggled to keep it straight. Like, okay, so I came back from filming, and when did I start boxing up my stuff? Like, when did I actually leave? Like, it's all very, very confusing.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of boxing up your stuff, the next question is, what is the process of moving out of the mansion? Pack and dip, 2 weeks notice, eviction? It's different for everybody. When I was brand new, I saw a couple people get kicked out. And when I say kicked out, I mean they were not at the house one day. Assistants went in and packed up all their shit in boxes and sent it somewhere. And they were not allowed back in the house. And that was kind of, I've mentioned this before, but that was kind of scary to me. That kind of made me think like, oh shit, I need to like not get kicked out or leave on bad terms, or I'm going to be worse off than I was before.
Yeah, I saw people leave in all different ways. I see people like pack up before they got kicked out.
Yeah.
I've seen
a couple, or at least one I can think of, you can't fire me because I quit moments where they were like getting kicked out and they're like, well, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
You know, and then
totally. And then there's people like Crystal who like gave everybody warnings, they're leaving and like packed up, but then never really left.
Yeah.
And there's people that came and went and came and went and came and went, like Stacy, like she was on and off a lot of times. So there was a lot of different things. I know for me, I had a kind of a set idea in mind, and then that process got sped up a lot. And then but I was also off filming for the Beaches show, but my sister was going to UCLA, so she would come over and start packing my stuff, but it was like a weeks long process because my sister's packing everything up, and then I would do what I could when I got home, and yeah, it took a while.
Yeah, for me, it was like I broke it off with Hef. I moved down the hall into a different room and just told him I wanted to stay there until I could like pack up my stuff and finish shooting the scenes I needed to shoot for season 5. And I was probably there for like, I think 2 months after I broke it off. I was there.
Yeah.
And I still don't think all my stuff got packed up.
One thing I noticed in a few episodes that Hef and his brother would always give each other an envelope. Do you know what it was and why?
I was really intrigued with this question, and I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for it in the show because I never noticed footage of that before.
Me neither.
My first thought is I know Hef at least partially supported his brother, so it might have been money.
Yeah.
And it seems weird to me that he would like hand him an envelope of cash, but Hef was very weird about the way he would share with people. So
Well,
that could have been it.
Our allowances were in cash, so
And we had to come track it down.
Yeah, so theoretically, he would bring it down to Keith in a, like a envelope, possibly.
Yeah.
That was my first thought too.
That was my thought.
But I've never seen that exchange. I don't even feel like I've seen that exchange in real life.
Me
versus
either.
on
I
the
can't
show.
picture it. And also, this question said Hef and his brother would always give each other an envelope. Like, I wonder if Keith ever gave Hef an envelope. I don't know what that would have been.
Oh, that might be something else then. Like maybe they had like movie nights, notes, or like some sort of betting thing going on or something like between.
Yeah, maybe they were
them.
betting on something.
Yeah, I feel like that. That kind of rings a bell. It's
that rings a bell to me too. Like maybe with one of their card games or Oscar ballots or things like that.
The card games. I feel like after they did the card games, like the next weekend they would bring money and like pay each other off or something. I feel like that did happen. Maybe.
Yeah, that would be my best guess, I think.
Yeah, it's something in those lines though. Do you think that if social media was around during your time at the mansion, that the world would have seen right through all his bullshit? Would he have been canceled?
I don't think people would have necessarily seen right through, because when you're living there, you need to follow the rules and you don't want to piss anybody off. So if I'm being careful as fuck in front of the girls next door cameras, I also would have been careful as fuck on social media.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think you necessarily would have had people. I mean, we live in a culture where people like love to overshare a lot on social media. So I feel like the difference would have been like the second the Mean Girls got kicked out, they probably would have like jumped right on social and like aired the dirty laundry. Like that's kind of like how people do things these days, I think. I don't know about canceled. I'm not a fan of cancel culture. I think people think I wrote my book to try to cancel Hef, but when I wrote my book, I had zero care how it would affect him either way, and I didn't really think he was cancelable. I don't even know if quote unquote canceling was a thing in 2015, but it wasn't like somebody could have fired him and kicked him out of his house. There just wasn't any change that would have been made. So I don't know that things would have been different.
Yeah.
I think it would have been more dramatic and way more of a shit show between the girls had we had social media. Because it would have upped the ante as far as like the competitiveness and who has the most followers, who's buying followers, who's photoshopping themselves, who dished dirt on somebody else on their live the other day. Like it would have been scandal fucking city.
Yeah.
But it would have been scandal between the girls. Like Hef would have just been shrugging like, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad we didn't have to deal with all that amongst everything else we had to deal with.
Me too. If TikTok was around back then, would it have been better or worse for haters? I feel like I know a lot of people don't like TikTok as far as a place for negativity in the comments section. For me, TikTok isn't the most negative outlet though. Like I feel like I get a lot more positivity and support in my comments section on TikTok than I do. I feel like Twitter is the absolute worst. Twitter is a dumpster fire. You get the meanest, craziest people who just say the most outlandish shit. And then Instagram is toxic in its own way, but I feel like Instagram is a little easier now because there's settings you can put on your account. When you block somebody, it blocks any other accounts they might make that's like linked to their Apple account. So I feel like Instagram feels a little safer than it used to. But yeah, I don't think haters would have been worse because of TikTok.
Have you spoken to Sandra since Secrets of Playboy? I don't think we spoke with Sandra on Secrets of Playboy.
No, I haven't spoken to Sandra. I would love to. I would love to have her on the show. But also, just because somebody else was on Secrets of Playboy and had bad stories about the mansion doesn't mean they like me. And I'm not saying Sandra, like Sandra and I've met before and she was great. But I know there's other people who like have their own bad stories about the mansion, but it doesn't mean they feel a kinship with me. Like they also hate me. Like I get the hate from both sides, so.
Did Hef ever reach out to either of you after you left? Oh yeah.
Too much. It was to the point where it was inappropriate. Like he was always sending letters to my house or like sometimes would tag me on Twitter in just times I felt like were inappropriate and like I had moved on and was in a new relationship and I kind of felt like it was disrespectful and he was still acting a little bit proprietary, like I was part of his stable or something. And there was a part of me that was like, back the fuck off, dude. Like, let me live my life.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah, I definitely still receive correspondence from him. And when I say correspondence, I mean mail.
Letters
in the mail, and phone calls, and office people calling to relay messages for him, but also being invited to things and events and stuff. So there was good and bad both and that happened for several years after.
What are your guys' dream locations in California to live?
LA.
Yeah.
I love it here.
Well, do you have like a haunted house or something? Let's get specific.
Oh, very specific, like where I want to live here? Let me think about that for a minute. You answer.
Okay. I mean, in a way, I kind of feel like I live in my dream location. Like, ever since I knew what the neighborhood I'm in now was, I wanted an original house from that neighborhood. And a weird story is, like, when I was in grade school, I was outside playing with friends, and we were, like, just talking random shit. And, like, where do you want to live when you grow up? And I said I wanted to live in the Hollywood Hills. And I didn't even know what that was, except I'd read somewhere that Madonna lived in the Hollywood Hills. And I loved Madonna. And never thought about it again. But I was on a walk one day and I realized that I lived really close to the house Madonna lived in at that time. And I'm like, whoa, I kind of manifested this a long ass time ago.
Yeah.
But to be honest, guys, I would not mind being in Vegas more full time than I even am now. Like, I really just love Vegas. I know that's not in California, it doesn't count, but
yeah, for me, it's a matter of finding like the perfect place. I feel like I haven't found my perfect living spot in LA yet.
Yeah.
I'm still looking, but I know it's out there because I feel it. I feel it calling to me. I just haven't found it
Yeah.
yet.
And there's downsides, don't get me wrong. Like, I feel very, very safe where I am because it's kind of like tucked up in this woodsy portion of the hills. But, you know, you gotta drive down to normal Hollywood and it's not in the best shape right now.
Right.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, but I do love California, and I love Southern California. Nick's always talking to me about, would you ever move like another state or something?
Does he want to?
Sorta.
He's an adventurer.
But he's lived in LA his entire life, like born and raised here, so which is rare. An
Yeah.
LA person.
I always wonder about LA born and raised people if they would really like somewhere else.
Yeah, I feel like not.
Because we're really spoiled with like weather and stuff.
This next question is from Sarah Ann. Do you think there will ever be a point in the future where you get to walk through the doors of the mansion? Bridget, are you ever super curious about how bedroom 3 looks now? I don't think there will ever be a point where we get to walk through the mansion doors again. I could be wrong.
I mean, it seems doubtful because I think the guy who owns it now is like super, super just private. And like, why would he care? I would love to see it again, though, obviously, because I would love to see the zoo and see like what animals are there. And I feel like it would be, I mean, I could be wrong. Like maybe I would have a not good reaction to go up there again. But I feel like it would be kind of healing just to see that property and like appreciate it for what it is architecturally and see it kind of like settled. Like it might feel like a breath of fresh air to just see it as a home.
Yeah, I feel like it would be a little bit heartbreaking for me because I've heard that somebody told me that if they were to blindfold me and put me in the Great Hall, that it would not even recognize where I was.
See, I find that so hard to believe. Like, because do you think there's no way they took out like the stained glass windows?
See, that's what I'm thinking too. Somebody told me that he's leaving all that architectural stuff, so I can't imagine that the Great Hall itself would look so different. But that's just what I was told. Now, my room is very disappointing because it was changed. It was changed after I left, and it's
just changed to like bland, right? Like didn't they just paint the walls like baby blue or something?
Yeah, it's changed to complete boring and nothing again. And I can't imagine what the person next will do with it, but it'll be nothing like what I had for sure. And it's sad too because I always had these thoughts that someday after Hef was gone, they would turn it into like a Graceland type thing, and that our rooms would kind of stay. I mean, obviously this is not gonna happen, but like I secretly thought that our rooms would be preserved or re-brought back to that because it was sort of a heyday and things that people would recognize, that at least mine and Kendra's rooms would be brought back to that and people would walk through and there'd be like a little rope crossing door and it'd be like, this was Bridget's room. But that will never be.
Yeah, that's definitely what Hef wanted. He wanted it to be like a Graceland, but the zoning would be impossible, and that property's just so freaking expensive that to like maintain something like that would be nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, I might like it better having it see it as like a nicer house, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It would be a weird mixture of feelings going in there.
I think it really would.
I want to do it so bad though. I want to go there. I really want to go there.
Yeah, I feel like it's a quest.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey that needs to be put to rest.
So I'd be open for the opportunity, absolutely. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but I can always hope.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all your questions, guys. We will see you next week.